All right, filmmakers, I got something I want to talk about, so I'll meet you right back here. It really is about the size of a soda can. What's up, tubulars? The filmmakers or photographers out there, this one is going to be for you. And if you're new here, you're like, well, wait, is that all you do? Like, no, that's the issue on this channel, is that I've got a variety of things that happen here, especially like from audio, video, photography, and some other pieces of tech. But today, for the filmmakers or photographers, if you're interested in filmmaking, cameras, if it's a hobby, if it's a profession, or if you just want to know more, you're in the right place. And if you haven't subscribed yet, well, you should just be hanging out with us, because I love this community over here. And one of the things I have to say, community, I want to check in on you. Is everybody doing okay? Like, leave some comments down below. Let me know how you're doing, how you're feeling, how's the day going, where are you from, when are you watching this? You know, all the stuff, really. Like, I want to know how you beautiful people are doing. And speaking how we're doing, so let's talk about the Sony 18-105. Let's not waste any more time. I need to talk about this beast of a lens. And if you're an APS-C shooter, A6000, 6300, I'm filming on the 6500, and for the new A6400 out there, yep, I would say, like, if I were picking up the A6400, which this would be the lens that I would put on it first. So let me, I'm going to talk about budgets. I'm going to be talking about sort of like price points and like what this lens I think is great for and what it likely is probably not great for, but there are definitely more pros than there are cons. And I've had people ask me, like, Kevin, if you if you could only take one lens with you. And I've been in those situations. I've been in a situation where I've had to pack light, or I've been traveling, and I needed to pare things down. Like, if there's a lens that I'm always going to be putting in the bag, the 18-105. Like, I was probably the most excited about this lens, and I have had this lens for going on 2 years now. So just under 2 years, maybe like 1.5 years or so. And I was most excited about this for a variety of reasons. And I do want to talk about, you do have to think about your use case. You always have to think about, what kind of filmmaker or photographer do I want to be? Like, what am I filming? What am I shooting here? And so, like, at that point, like, I knew what I wanted to do. So for the wide shot, I love the fact that on an APS-C camera, like, having that 18, so I could kind of go wide and I could do some vlogging. And because, seriously, like, I can't be expected to hold up like a tripod and have like everything up my nose. So I loved the fact that this particular lens was wide enough where I could vlog, and I didn't feel like I needed to add like a broomstick onto my GorillaPod to get it far enough away. But then I could kind of flip the camera around, get the B-roll, get some other shots, whether it's photo or video. And primarily, I do video primarily, and I'm trying to up my photography game a little bit. And this lens certainly helps, because if I'm shooting mostly video and then I say, oh, I need to shoot some more photo, well, just flip it over, kind of adjust some settings however I need to, and then go and actually get some shots in. So 18-105, and equivalent for full frame is around 27, just doing the math of the crop, 27 to like 157 on a full frame equivalent. So the beauty about this lens, first and foremost, is the build. It's like mostly metal here, and I love that fit and finish. Now, we do have the power zoom here, so we've got this button. However, you've got that manual, you've got that ring for the zoom here, and then you also have the focus ring on this. And everything just feels very fluid, and everything is really fluid, especially like when I'm working that video. Now you notice, so like when I zoom like this, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about this puppy when it comes to the zoom. Okay, now I've got a 55 to 210 here. And somebody might be like, well, I got this as a kit lens. It was fairly inexpensive, and so like this will be good. And yeah, this will be fine, except for those that are using gimbals. Now, if you don't use gimbals, you might be like, all right, fine, whatever. But when you're using a gimbal, you need everything to be like you dial everything in and that there's no shift in the weight, because you don't want things like off center, off kilter, whatever. Yeah, the motors try to compensate, but as things get shifted, then the motors are stuttering and then your footage is stuttering, and that you don't want that. So as you see, like I zoom on this, see how that like you do not want that on a gimbal. Like you'll have to keep readjusting. Like you would have to actually have just a fix and say like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna rebalance everything and then zoom. Like, no. Sony 18-105, you zoom on that thing and yeah, everything is internal, folks. Everything is in here. And not to mention, so 18-105, you're zooming into 105. However, with clear image zoom, oh man, you can double it. You can go up to 210. So if I need to get in tighter and I want to get a little bit closer, but I actually don't want to physically get myself closer, then I'm going to get 210 with clear image zoom. Now for photography, I just heads up on that. Like if you're zooming in at 210 with clear image, you're only going to be able to shoot with JPEG, like no RAW. And I prefer RAW because I like to have all that information, but I just want to put that out there so nobody's like really disappointed. But for video, like if you need that 210 and then go for it. Like you got it with clear image zoom on my A6500 as an example. Now, if you use ND filters like myself, the thread is 72 mil. So for all of you out there who may use a variable ND or some sort of like polarized ND or whatever, 72 millimeter. Now, as far as like the video autofocus, like I'm gonna talk like video because like that's my primary. I mean, this is a Sony lens on a Sony camera. The autofocus it's tight, like it's awesome. So as far as like worrying about any kind of autofocus issues with these, like you don't have to worry about that. Like this is definitely going to focus for you, and I rarely have any issues with it. As far as manual focus, I've had a few things like where it's trying to find the focus, and like I'm having to kind of, you know, and I do like manual settings. Honestly, I do like a lot of manual settings because I like to tell the camera what I want instead of the camera telling me what I want sometimes. So I've had a few like little hiccups, and I've had to like the camera's had to help me a little bit. But like if you're patient or whatever and you want to shoot manual, and if you just can't kind of find the focus, like you'll get there. It's not as brilliant as that autofocus that is just on point. So we're talking about f4 now. So the aperture is f4, and the beauty about when you're zooming in, you've got f4 throughout versus something like this that has 4.5 to 6.3. Now, if I'm zooming in, you know what? I don't want to be worrying about my ISO, and I don't want to worry about my aperture. Like if I have it dialed into f4, then as I zoom in, I want it to maintain that, and that's what this lens will do. So it maintains f4 throughout. So let me just pivot over to budget here when we talk about glass, because I need to air things out a little bit. So if you are interested in something like the A6400 right now, like if that's like something that is, because it's like the newest APS-C camera, it does not have in-body image stabilization, so that's not built into the body of the camera. However, this lens and many of the other Sony lenses have optical SteadyShot. So without IBIS, this is going to help you. It's not going to be perfect, and it's not like you're still not going to be able to like jostle the camera around and it's going to be, you know, like completely awesome, but it will definitely help. But from a budgetary standpoint, and I'm not telling people to blow out budgets and spend money that they don't have, especially money like even in the future. So right now the A6400 is $899 for the body only. Now for another $100, they throw in this kit lens, and that's fine. Like if that's what you think, like that's my budget, not only just now, but even for the future. However, if you could actually take that $100 and put it into something like this that is at $550, $575, it's under 600 bucks. It's like, I think when this thing was released, it was a little bit more, but it's under $600. You're going to get an A6400 with this lens that is very versatile for under $1,500. Really capable. So the capability here, when we talk about that f4, you're not going to be doing astrophotography. This is not like a low light beast. This is not something that you want to be shooting when it is low light, like really, really low light, you know, because the noise, it's just going to start, like you start messing with your ISO and, you know, forget about it. Like you're going to have some issues. I get that. So bend the light, manipulate the light, bring a light.
Run to the light, baby! baby.
Whatever you have to do if it is a low light situation. But for me, like 99% of the time, maybe 98, you know, I'll give myself like another percentage point there. About 98% of the time, like this was gonna fit the bill, and I'll figure out ways to kind of adjust light or bend light if I need to, if I can, you know, I'm only getting to that f4. So if I'm doing something like low light, you know, I'm gonna use something like my Sigma 16mm 1.4 or my 85mm 1.8. So like I will bring those if I know that the lighting is going to be an issue. But typically, like if this is like the one and done, the hybrid shooter, the video, the photography, that's what I'm going to do. So let's talk about photography. Now, don't flame me here, folks, because I'm going to be bringing up some images of a trip that we took about a year ago, and I did take this lens. I literally, like this lens lived on my camera. It just lived on the camera. Like I was trying to like flip between this and like my 16 mil, and I was like, why? Like just leave this thing on. So we're on this like road trip, and I'm taking some shots, and you know, like it's really doing well. Like I had a few issues with like focus, and so I do want to let you know, like I didn't do a ton of editing with these photos, so that's why I don't like totally wreck me here. Like I'm still trying to get that craft. I'm still getting that expertise in photography. But what I will say, for this family trip that we took, it was totally amazing, and I felt like I got some really good shots, and some shots I could pull into Lightroom and kind of manipulate. But like I said, I wanted you to see shooting in RAW. Everything is in RAW, and then just kind of what's coming into this glass, and you know how the camera's handling that. So I didn't want to adjust too much. So for a lot of the landscape shots, and you know even some of the photos, like there are some times like where I had issues with some of the shadows, or when things were a little bit darker. But like I said, in post I can adjust those things. I mean, that's probably just me sort of like framing the shot, or lack thereof having an issue with it. Now I did actually take this out into the streets, and I did a little bit of photography there. And I have to say, like, I really appreciated this lens, having this, because there were times like where I could just get up on that shot, and like I was in at 18 millimeters and no problem, like I wanted to go wide. And then if I needed to like really zoom, like, you know, I had that capability. I love the fact, like, I love prime lenses. Prime lenses are definitely, like the ones that I have, are sharp as a tack. And this is a sharp lens too, except if you're like one of those like pixel peepers, as they like are referred to, then you are like, oh yeah, look, it's all falling apart over here, and I can see it here, and okay, then this lens is probably not for you. Or like if you are feeling that, if you're feeling that way, then we'll just go somewhere else. But actually, like seriously, like if you're just focused in on an area like where in the center of the photo, like things are looking kind of sharp, and if you're not trying to like go up into the corners, then you likely will have very little issue with like appreciating what is going to come out of this lens. And being that it is f4, so thinking about photography in a low light situation, I did have some examples of some low light photography, and like it was kind of mixed. Like when I was like close up and going wide at like about 18 millimeters, 18 to like 30, 32, like I was okay. But like when I was like really like wide and just trying to get like the whole area, and it was fairly dark, there was definitely some noise that I noticed in the photos. But still, like I liked the shots, but I was just trying to do those as perspective. So for the fact that you have optical SteadyShot, you got an A6400 that's just released, and see the 6000 and the 6300 also do not have IBIS. So like something that has the OSS in it, that is where you really want to be putting your investment in. So I would say at a price point with a 6400 with this lens under $1,500, you have a very, very capable camera for both video and photography. All right, folks, so hopefully I answered at least kind of the lion's share of maybe some of the questions that you have. If you do have any questions or comments below, then please feel free to just leave them below. I'll leave all of the specs and details and things throughout the video and then the description, and you can check that out as well. But I would love to know, do you have this lens, or have you just recently purchased this lens? Or if you actually go into the description and use a link that doesn't cost you anything to purchase this lens, then you go out and shoot. What do you think about it? I want to know what you are experiencing with this lens. So as a hybrid shooter for myself, this is perfect. I do mostly video, I do some photo, but I think even if you're like 50-50, still this lens for the price point, because those G Master lenses are like $1,800, $2,000, $2,500. When we talk about budgets, folks, filming photography, it can be cost prohibitive for people. So it's just putting things into perspective. Like for most people's budgets that are into the filming industry, into filmmaking, into photography, $500 to $600 isn't necessarily a lot of money. But a lot of folks that are just starting out in the craft, just like I was when I was like, wait, I just bought a really nice body and now I've got to like put so much money into the lens? Yes, glass makes a difference. All right, so as always, folks, go out there and do things that matter. Keep rocking faces. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will catch you on the next one. Yeah, I really didn't need like a soda water or anything, so I guess I have to drink this. I'm always telling my kids, like, you know, when they open it up, like, please finish it. And, you know, the bubbles don't last. Like, they just... Anyway, if you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. So I guess I have to, like, practice what I preach and... Yeah, gotta finish this. So anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. I do hope everybody's doing okay. Leave those comments below.